Welcome, everyone, to American Girls, the podcast, where we're reliving the American Girls series book by book, except here on Patreon, where we get to talk about things that we imagine are part of the world of our show. I'm Mary.
I'm Ann M. Martin.
Wow, interesting choice coming off the jump with that.
No, I'm still Allison, and I am still like 65% Mary Ann, I think.
Interesting. We're going to touch into that. So on today's episode, we will be covering the latest Babysitters Club adaptation airing on Netflix and the first book, original book from the series. And just want to start by saying thanks to all of our listeners who were able to join us for our watch along of the last two episodes, which was so fun.
That was very fun. And I'm so glad you could watch the finale with us. My only regret is that we didn't just binge watch everything as a marathon.
It was really hard to stop.
I could have put this directly into a cocktail, right into my veins. I was ready to just like take all of this in immediately.
And I think it kind of came into our lives at the perfect moment because I won't speak for you, but I was sort of having a week where just the reality of this being life now with COVID and just like being home all the time and et cetera is still just like starting to get to me. And, you know, just the general low grade anxiety of like life in 2020. So for us to be able, we watched this with a couple of friends of ours, the first couple episodes, and it was just so much joy. Like immediately everyone in the group who had a rough day was like, this has completely turned everything around for me. It's just pure joy.
I was shocked by two things. I didn't want to go into the series with super high expectations, in part because it came out right before the 4th. And for the past several years, Stranger Things being dropped right before the 4th of July has been like a joy for me. I love that show. It's so fun. I get like excited to binge watch all of that. And I was like, okay, this won't be as good as Stranger Things. And then it was. And then I was very tired and I sat down to reread Christie's Great Idea. And I was like, okay, you're not probably going to like this. I was laughing out loud. I could like feel it lifting my mood. I was like, oh my gosh, she is so different from how I remembered.
Yep.
And I like really just enjoyed all of it. So I was so glad that people were able to watch part of it with us. And you know, one of the weird things that's happened with all of this is we don't get together and watch shows with our friends in person anymore. But we've done Netflix parties now and these watch-alongs, which I don't think we would have done otherwise. And I am not silver lining-ing a pandemic because it's not.
Yeah.
But I do think Netflix party is one of the things that's made this a lot more palatable for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's made it a lot easier. And even I know like there have been a couple of nights where I've been, you know, I don't know how much I've said this on the show, but I live with like chronic illness, which occasionally is not always fun for me. And Allison very nicely, I think one time I just was like, Gavel, I need to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians tonight. And you and our other friend Tanya acquiesced. And it's just something really low key or low pressure because you can be wearing sweatpants as I'm constantly doing now, or like not really worrying about having to be on camera. Like I hate being on Zoom. It is so frustrating and so draining to me at the end of the day that to be able to end the day by still being able to connect with people, but having kind of privacy and watching something totally light or fun has been really nice. And with our friend group that we normally watch The Bachelor with, we've been watching Next in Fashion. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Which I still can't fully figure out, but like just things like that have been like very low stakes sources of joy.
I don't know if other people are experiencing this or it will resonate with them. The number of series that I have started and stopped, I think is at an all-time high. Like people will mention a show and I'm like, yeah, I started it. I've actually found it easier to get into books, and like thankfully with my library doing curbside and like having books like sent to my house, things like that, I'm finding it easier to just like sit and read a book in a full day than it was maybe other times. But then on the flip side, like easily, if I'm sitting down to watch TV, it will take me 5, 6 tries to find something to watch.
Yeah, I've dealt with that a lot too. And I don't really know what's driving that, but it is really frustrating because normally I'm used to sitting down with Netflix or whatever and I make my bookmaking, which, we've talked about in our latest episode, and I just like to zone out. That's what I do when I truly just want to like unwind. And it's so hard now to just pick a show and feel like, okay, I'm just doing the next episode of the show. I keep like stopping and starting everything. Last night Anna was out and I was like, oh good, I can watch something Anna doesn't like. And I couldn't really settle on anything. Long story short, I watched a documentary about Imelda Marcos, which was very good, but it's on Hulu. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
The woman who made Generation Wealth, which I think is on Amazon Prime, which I also really enjoyed, made this. And basically, Imelda Marcos was like, wouldn't it be cool to have an African safari in the Philippines? And she took an island in the Philippines that was populated by indigenous people and kicked them all off their island and brought in animals from Africa. And then the indigenous people have returned and there's been no regulation of the animals. So like it's completely out of control and she stopped funding it. And so anyway, she went there originally to make a documentary about that and then got access to Imelda directly and started filming a documentary at the same moment that her son tries to reclaim power and totally rewrite the history of his family's like absolute corruption and terrorism. So he was like the Trump of the Philippines. And so she had no idea any of this was going to happen when she started filming. So it is really interesting, but I had to watch like 4 completely different things before I got onto that. Like I went from marrying millions to that.
I've been watching Criminal Minds, which is like my version of a sedative. And then I started Body of Proof, which was actually filmed in Providence and is honestly pretty good. But I was watching Criminal Minds and I was like, okay, even for me, this isn't getting it done. And it's a very, very basic procedural about FBI agents. And I turned it off and then I put on Body of Proof. And my husband said, this is literally the same show. And I was like, shh.
You're like, it's not, be quiet.
I was like, this one is slightly more centered on a coroner, which I find very interesting, or a medical examiner.
Oh my God.
I have been watching, and I won't get too far into it. I have been watching the HBO special on I'll Be Gone in the Dark. And
I thought you weren't going to see that. I thought it was going to be too scary.
So the book is the scariest book I've ever read. And I've read, horror and true crime and all those kinds of things. The book like really struck a nerve with me. The series is okay. I like it. I don't love it. But basically... usually HBO has like some blockbuster for me that can just pull me in, and that hasn't been happening. And I was like, okay, 911, time for Criminal Minds.
You know what? Anything you can do in these times. My mom just texted me the other night about Peacock, the NBC streaming channel that just launched,
yes,
which was not really on my radar, and I still don't understand how to access it on my TV, but it doesn't seem to play well with Roku or anything like that. But oh my God, talk about Kismet. I just finished season 5 of Murder, She Wrote, which is on Amazon Prime. They only have 5 seasons. And then on Peacock, you can join for free. There's a bunch of stuff you can watch if you don't want to pay them, which seems like a weird business model, but whatever. Murder, She Wrote, all 12 seasons are on there. It's like, wow, what a beautiful moment in my life.
I wonder if they, 1, know that there's a millennial resurgence in that kind of content, or 2, figure that audience isn't on there so they can just dump it. Like, I wonder which calculation they made.
Or 3, there's an executive high up in NBC who listens to this show who's heard me. And it's like, you know what, Mary, I see you, I hear you. I'm going to give you like one small gift in this otherwise terrible year.
I really want that to be true.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. It's all I have. But all right, let's get into the Babysitters Club of it all. So this was such a deep love in my life, the Babysitters Club. First of all, let's maybe talk about the book first, because that's the OG thing. It came out, I believe, in 1986, so it's as old as American Girl.
I'm gonna flex for a second.
Uh-oh.
I have like an original, like this is like a first edition, 1986.
God. So jealous.
And it says Scholastic on the back. I have not thought about this in a minute. RL4, reading level 4, which we've passed, thankfully. Like we're crushing that. It actually made me feel so good. Like the font is a very pleasant size to read. Like the font is nice and big. My pages are kind of yellowed. Like picking up this book and feeling like, I don't know if someone else needs to hear this, like feeling like, wow, I can kind of crush this in a night actually made me feel really good about myself. I don't care.
Oh my God.
Um,
Wow.
but it brought back good memories, and it also made me feel like, wow, I can still crush this book. And yet, I was really stunned by how much it kept my attention, and it didn't feel like a book for kids.
I just need to call you out for a second because earlier this week you texted me and were like, it's a lot longer than you think it is.
Yes, it
So,
is,
what has
though.
happened to you in a week where you're like, I can crush this in a night, when earlier this week you were like, just FYI, it's long?
So when we read American Girl books, they are between 55 and 75 pages, depending on what you include. This is like 150 pages. So we
Yeah.
budget our time of how to prep for the show. And when we agreed to watch this series and then agreed to do this, like I can read a Dear America in half the time. Well, those are
Right.
actually comparable, but we've read other stuff that took a lot less time.
Okay, fair. Okay, fair. I mean, what comes up for you when you think about like what is your relationship with BSC and Anne?
This brought up a lot of really good memories. I was actually having so I read this last night and I was having really intense deja vu of being a kid and like one of my favorite things to do, which is like sew a forecast of the rest of my life. I would make myself a big picture of Crystal Light,
Oh my God, Crystal Light. Yes.
either like the iced tea or the lemonade, which I have in my house right now and I am literally just took a sip of. I would make myself a pitcher and we had these like cups that I really loved, and I would sit outside and I would put on my sunblock and I would read a Babysitter's Club book, and I would bring out like a big bowl or a bag of Tostitos or Doritos.
Ooh.
And I remember very vividly being a kid and being like, this is good. Like, this makes me
Yes.
feel good. Like, I
Oh my
like this.
God.
Like, this
Yes.
is the life. And I am 32 and change years old. And literally, that is what I did on my day off yesterday. Like, I
Respect
have
it.
not changed.
I'm totally with you on this that my it's weird like certain books when I read growing up, I don't remember the context of reading them at all. I have a visceral memory of reading these books in my room growing up. My mom used to take care of I have two brothers and my mom used to take care of three other guy cousins in the summer. So it was like me against five boys, and my mom's a librarian, a children's librarian, and her biggest thing was like, you will take an hour a day and read. And when I
Mm-hmm.
tell you everyone else rebelled against this, like, I can't even tell you. They were like, absolutely not. I'm not doing this. I want to play baseball. And I like doing that too, but this was like sacred time to me. It was also like alone time. I don't have to be around these people who are trying to compete with me for what we're going to watch on TV or who's going to pitch in wiffle ball or whatever else was going on. And I would go up to my room and it was like sacred time. Like I'm alone with the Babysitters Club or Sweet Valley Twins or the Boxcar Children, which were the three main series I read around this time. And it was just like pure joy, absolute pure joy. And I almost like, I was so desperate to be friends with them, like to have
Mm.
friends like that and to have that kind of club.
It's weird. I didn't want to be part of anything like this. I mean this to me, despite like living one state away from where this is set, their lives felt very 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 foreign to me, and I think part of that was I thought these books were much older than they are. I thought
Mm.
they cuz my sister read them right when they first came out and we are almost 10 years apart. So she read these right in the late 80s when they came out. I would have bet my life prior to checking on it for this show that they came out in like the 70s. I don't know
Hmm.
why I thought this. I thought this was much older. I thought this was much further away. And I think part of the attraction for me is like they are much more like advanced and business savvy, and like growing up more in the woods. None of these things that they did were possible for me at all.
Yeah, I felt that way. So I grew up in more of like less of a rural situation than you and more of a suburb of like I grew up in a suburb of Hartford, Connecticut. So first of all, like shout out to CT Pride. Always was proud that the Babysitters Club was set in Connecticut. Stoneybrook, obviously a fictional town, but I always aspired to live there, still do. But all to say, like I did have that experience of my neighbor's house was close enough to mine that we could flash flashlights at each other through our windows. Like we did that. My brother got in trouble because he took a laser pointer and put it on the head of another neighbor boy through his window. That's another story. But I also babysat extensively when I was a young teen and like through my teens. So I understand that experience. I didn't have the same like drive for seemingly no reason. Like there's no financial goal that any of them are trying to reach that sparks this, which has always been interesting to me, but also was really amazed by the detail in this book that they could both. I always felt very insulated in our suburb. Like we could ride our bikes around our neighborhood, but that was pretty much it. There was nowhere to go, nothing to do. They were riding their bikes to the mall, or at least we get a reference to that. And I'm
Yes.
like, can you even imagine being able to just like ride your bike to the mall? Stunning.
Honestly, I think the thing that felt just like so apart from my own life was like it was always an effort on many people's part for me to play with a friend, right? So it was a drive in the car, it was plans ahead of time because of like work schedules. And it's like that was my reality as like a 90s kid, like very good. I saw friends a lot, but a lot of my weekend time or time off or summertime when I was reading these books, I was the only person my age in my family or close to my age, and I was reading them alone. The way that you read the Boxcar Children, being like, oh, their life is kind of interesting. It's not like mine at all.
Mm, yeah.
And it's not like I didn't have friends. Um, I never babysat. I was a mother's helper for someone who lived on my street. And in retrospect, it was because she had, like, I understood this kind of, but like she was very open that she was struggling after having two kids very close together. And it was like, come and hang out. And I would basically sit at her house as like a 13, 14-year old and like feed her baby while she did laundry. Like that it was
Wow.
not, and it was not anything extensive. So they're like, their hustle, their scheduling, their pay schedules, like not remotely a thing that was part of my world at all.
See, for me, when I started babysitting, it was because I had cousins who were just enough younger than me that I could babysit for them and get paid for it. And to me, it was like this is luxury because, as I said, there was like 5 boys at my house in the summers. So if I could go
Mm.
babysit someone else, it was like 2 people who were reasonably well behaved. And let's say it was like nighttime, they go to bed really early, then I get to watch whatever I want on TV for a couple hours and get paid for it. Like to me, I was like, this is amazing. Also, I was really getting into like music and thought I wanted to be like a female Paul McCartney at this time. I really wanted a guitar. So for me, it was like I had this goal of like, I am saving for a guitar. So I don't know. But it wasn't like I didn't have their business acumen. I'll say that. I wasn't trying to get jobs. They just sort of happened. And then that was it.
So, did you or do you now, this is for your official deposition,
Uh oh.
identify as a Christie?
Yes, I do in the past. I still do in 2020. Reading this book was a real journey for me because, and also the adaptation. Okay, so I watched the adaptation first, then I went and reread this book. I
Same.
went into the adaptation thinking to myself, I have visceral memories of being like, I am a Christie. Because Christy loves softball. Christy wears a lot of jeans, t-shirt combos. There's a lot of denim happening. There's a lot of baseball caps. There's a lot of unapologetic sort of tomboy material.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I also read Matt Christopher books aggressively that were originally bought for my brothers, but never read by them, but read by me quite a bit. So when I read this, I was like, oh, yeah. I remember being a kid and being like, I love sports, therefore I'm Christy. And now I'm reading this book and watching the adaptation. I was like, dear God, like, how did I not know about myself? There's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here.
There is a lot. And I think what's interesting about Christy is you are meant to like follow the journey of the BSC of the show through her. I think in a way
Yeah.
that's very similar to the books, especially because the book one is like her POV. I think you could read so many different things into Christy based on your own experience. I felt like such a connection to her. And I don't want to use the word annoying because you are not annoying. There's something
Wow.
about her. No, and I mean that sincerely. Like, there's something about where her, like, that feeling of being a girl that age and not being sure if you're too much. Like, I
Right.
think that's like what they did so brilliantly, where like she is so determined, like she has good ideas, she knows how to rally people around her, but she senses people not always going with it, and that self-doubt that she has of being annoying. That's, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think there's also something else going on too, which is like even though people think of Dawn as like the idealist or the one who is more of like activist e, I think Christy is also someone who is an idealist and is like, well, this is what's right, and if you're not doing
Yes.
what's right, then you can't possibly be my friend, or you know, like you're absolutely wrong. And she doesn't compromise herself. So I think when she sees that in other people, she reads it as weakness rather than saying maybe there's something else going on. And the classic moment of this in the book and in the show is when Stacy tells them that she can't come for the pizza party because she's going to New York. And then Marianne sees her in the car. And long story short, Christy cannot let this go. Like Claudia and Marianne are like, whatever, like there's probably some explanation. Like they're fine with it. They've moved on. And Christy's like, something's gnawing at me. And it's like because she's lied or she hasn't lived up to this ideal that Christy has, she can't let her off the hook with it. So she basically ends up calling Stacy's mom a liar. And
Yes.
Stacy's like, "Are you saying my mom's a liar?" And she's like, "Yes, I am." And then Stacy storms out because she isn't yet ready to share with them that she's diabetic. And Claudia's like, basically, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, why can't you just let it go? And Christy's like, I don't understand. But it's like that's such a clear moment of like idealist.
She's also the most insightful, like oddly, she's one of the more insightful narrators who I've read in a minute, despite her age. Page 16, the mother has come in to kind of like talk with Chrissy because she has sort of been like misbehaving at school and she just was unhappy at dinner. And the mom is played by Alicia Silverstone on the series, which is amazing. But mother asks, how was school? Mom tries to spend a little time alone with each of us kids every day. She feels guilty that she and my father are divorced and that she has to work full time to support us. She's told us so. I wish she wouldn't feel guilty. Then further down, my father can be sort of a jerk sometimes. It's like this
True.
amazing candidness of being that age and just being like, okay, I've just started to figure out my parents are people and they behave this way for a reason.
Yeah, but I think something that I kind of want to get your take on is based on the difference between the book and the adaptation, and something that I genuinely love this adaptation, and I will likely rewatch the entire thing again, which I very rarely rewatch things, but
Yes.
something that bothered me about the adaptation, I think more than the books, but it's in the books, especially like even in moments like the one you just read, is that there's a lot of assumption or presumption, either by the girls or their parents, that they are responsible not only for babysitting. It's like their business is babysitting children, but their lives are doing the emotional babysitting of their parents.
Yes.
And to me, like the lack of boundaries around that, I think was kind of off putting to me watching the show. Like there's a lot of moments in the show, particularly between Christy and her mother, and Marianne and her father, and like basically every parental relationship on the show, but mainly Christy and her mother, where Christy clearly is struggling to adapt to the fact that her family is changing and her mother is marrying Watson, and you know they're going to be joining families, and there's like a class dynamic to this, that they're going to be living in a much different kind of lifestyle. And there's a lot of moments where instead of Christy being able to say to the mom, like, I'm upset, I don't get what's going on, please help me, there's a lot of like Christy having to step in to make things all right for the mom, or having to like remain quiet so that she doesn't upset her mother. And she's doing that with the intention of like, well, I have to make sure my mom feels okay about everything that's going on. So the babysitter instinct is coming out not only to babysit children as part of this biz, but also to kind of babysit the parents in ways that I don't think are emotionally healthy for the members of the babysitters club.
I think this book, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that happens, like, and now that you've said it, I can think of so many examples on the show. I think part of where these books came out of was the increasing phenomenon of middle class families where both parents had to work outside of the home. And I think like this book is a clear reflection of that, of like this very particular moment where like babysitting as such for as a thing that young people and especially women do for pay versus just like people in neighborhoods or latchkey kids watching each other. Like it's a very specific phenomenon out of a very particular moment. And honestly, something that really resonated with me rewatching it, both my parents worked full time at jobs that they cared about a lot, and both were very busy a lot. And my sister had to watch me a lot. um, and I think it's interesting, like rewatching or like watching or rereading these books, like how families have conversations about how that's going to work. And like
Mm,
sort of the tragedy of David Michael, who's 6 years old, and
mm,
just like, well, who's gonna watch me? And even in those moments, like they don't want the mom to feel bad. And I
yeah.
was like, the whole genesis of this club comes from Christy's mother having conversations about caretaking that are kind of uncomfortable in front of the kids.
Yes.
Like, which,
Yes. Yeah. And what
yeah,
struck me, and this is, I won't be the first person to say this, is that, Anne Martin is someone who I think it would not be incorrect to say is influenced by certain feminist ideas. And I think people have said before that in some ways you could look at the Babysitters Club or a club of girls coming together to run a business together as also kind of like a conduit to or an homage to a consciousness raising group. Like they all get
mm,
together and they share their experiences. In the book, they keep a common notebook of their babysitting experiences that they can all benefit from. So to me, that was kind of striking. But in a way, it's like then it kind of creates this weird parody in which the Babysitters Club is this sort of like woke for its time consciousness raising group where they're going to be sharing labor equally and distributing work in a way that they all agree to and whatnot. And it's kind of a react, but it's also a reaction against the reality of like women getting to work outside the home. So, like, if the second wave dream was like equality in the workplace and women getting these opportunities, like the Babysitters Club is living out that 90s fantasy of like, okay, mom has a job that she cares about too, but can we really have it all? And the answer I think is no. And what gets, or like, what kind of sacrifices have to get made for both parents to be able to work and for the family to function? And in this book, it seems like the teenage girls have to take on a lot of emotional labor.
yeah. And it's interesting in the scene where the Alicia Silverstone character, who is like trying to find a sitter, something that is different from the book versus the adaptation. In the book, the first time that this really comes up, she's run through everyone's schedule and like everyone is unavailable and they have a system for taking care of David Michael. And on the show, Christy is unavailable and her brothers are basically just like, we don't want to do it. And the mom is like, oh no, like there's a panic. And she doesn't like push back against the boys not having plans and just not wanting to do it. And that's actually interesting how that's changed.
Yeah, I agree. And in a way, it's like that's kind of a weird, like, not a narrative of progress, I could say, from the books. Like, I think there's a lot that has changed that's progress from the book to the adaptation. Like, obviously, the attention to representation has changed from
Yes.
the books to the adaptations in a really great way. Like, this book reads really white, and it's because it is. And the adaptation obviously is not, and much the better for it. But I think, the books or the adaptation has kind of let go of some of those like overtones, I think, that are in the book of like almost a second wave feminist influence. There is that moment when Alicia Silverstone is like, you need to make your own money. Like, you have to be able to take care of yourself. Like, you have to be independent. That last episode was wild to me. Like, when she's about to go off with Watson on her honeymoon, she
Mm-hmm.
hops out of the car and says a number of things I found inappropriate to Christy, where it's like, you're my favorite, don't tell the others. It's like, okay. And she's like, you're like basically like, I'm married to Watson, but like, like you're like my favorite person, or I forget exactly what she says, but there's so much of like pressure put on Christy where she's like, yes, I'm marrying Watson, and maybe you think I'm compromising my emphasis on independence, but that doesn't mean that you can do that. Like, you have to be independent, you have to plan to be able to take care of yourself.
And also, I mean, she's so young,
Yeah, it's
right?
like
Like
she's like 11. How old is she? I was like, this is a lot of pressure. Like,
they're in
you
seventh
know,
grade, right? Or
yeah, I was like,
seventh
it's
into
not like
eighth
she's
grade.
like 22 and she's about to just get married so some guy will like pay her bills. It's not like there's a life situation that has necessitated this moment of like hysterical, like, you must be able to take care of yourself. I think in her mother's life, she probably regrets, or maybe regrets, whatever went on with Christy's father, that when he abandoned the family and, you know, in the books as in the adaptation, does not stay in contact with the kids on any regular basis. Maybe that has made her put pressure on herself, but it's coming out sideways at Christy, and there needs to be more awareness about that.
I think it comes out of a period of like, you know, as articulated elsewhere, like parents just don't understand. Where it's like parents fundamentally don't get your life. They can't really be useful past a certain age in like helping you navigate through your life.
Yes.
And it's kind of interesting. It's like, so if her mother was like pretty young when she had her mother is probably a product of like the 50s, 60s, right? And then like reared through the 70s and early 1980s. And it's interesting, like the kids, as we've seen in other books that we've read, like kids exist in a separate universe, but you still see that. Like the whole thing on Stranger Things, you know, very similar series actually, is like no one has a clue what these kids are doing. They've like hidden a girl in the basement inexplicably with success for like days on end. It's a trope, but it's a trope for a reason. It's like 80s and 90s kids were like off on their own.
They were off on their own doing God knows what. And the parents get kind of infantilized as a result, because it's like, well, we have to like teach my parents. Like in the adaptation, Marianne's dad like has to be coerced or like tricked into making up with Dawn's mom. Or like they kind of have to manage that relationship. So there's a lot of that. But then, of course, you have Grandma Mimi, who is the star of the franchise.
Grandma Mimi is an absolute icon. Someone sent us like a funny like revision of like some of the covers, including Claudia, and I was like, can people just let Mimi live? Like just let Mimi like
I would love a spinoff of just Grandma Mimi and Janine.
Yeah.
Janine, when Janine goes off at dinner the first time and she was like Claudia had her caregiving circle. Like, I was just, it killed me. Like, the way that Janine phrases stuff is so insane to me and just absolutely amazing. I just want a rough cut of like every Janine scene in the show.
I liked and appreciated that no one came across as a caricature to me. And I liked that in the books as well. Like, I think Janine is a really dynamic and interesting character in the books. And as with all things, like you flatten stuff over time in your head. I actually remembered Mary Ann being a little bit more, I keep using the word annoying and I don't mean to, like being a little bit more trying and maybe cloying at times. When I was like doing this rewatch and doing this reread, I love the way they made Mary Ann a character for basically like dealing with your feelings. Like that it's okay to be a person who like feels really hard and doesn't always like deal with it super well. Like I really liked that in her character. And the episode that was a close-up on her where she was like, I want to dress differently, but like I don't even know how. It's like, that's so relatable.
Yeah, I think so. And I know Marianne was the one that you identified with growing up. Like, do you still feel that way after rereading the book and seeing the show?
I think a lot of how I remembered Mary Ann was based on the movie. And I like the Mary Ann of the books and the show like a lot better. I loved Dawn when I was reading the books. And my favorite BSC book of all time is these portrait books. They made these portrait collections, which were like little like bios just of the particular person with like diary excerpts, which these were like my absolute favorite. And Dawn starts in California. I don't feel like the Dawn on the new series, like I'm nothing like her, but I really, really loved Dawn in the books.
Okay. See, I feel like it's kind of like American Girl where I don't remember a lot of the plot lines or the nuances between the different characters. Like I always remembered Claudia was the coolest, and I always remember feeling like I could never be that cool in terms of like her fashion choices and I don't know, like her self-possession. Like Christy's sort of a mess and like wants to be in charge, but is also like probably insecure and is idealist and can't hang with like the reality that sometimes in life when you're an adult you have to compromise a little bit, or just like the world is different. And I don't know that I have that same command of the colors or nuances of, say, like Dawn or some of the other members of BSC. So this has inspired me in a sense to like do a deep dive back in the series at some point to kind of like stay with it and understand what's going on there.
See, I don't think Claudia is the coolest.
What do you mean? Who do you think's the coolest?
I think what the series and the book does really brilliantly is like Claudia has these like airs of having it together, but she's a mess, dude.
She's a big time mess. Yeah.
And as someone who also like compulsively and secretly snacks, and like I love the trope of the late 80s, early 90s of like everyone having a literal junk drawer where they
Yep.
put like snack foods in, because that's like also how I live. Like she's so messy. Like she's beloved and she's
Yes.
quirky, but like, you know, everyone knows those people who are like so artistic, so talented, but at some point you're like, put the Twinkie down.
Pull it
We had an
together.
appointment 20 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Like,
that piece would be tough to live with. I think she's easier to have as sort of like a casual friend because
yes.
then you're not having to deal with like, hey, the group trip was supposed to jump off like 2 hours ago. Where are you? Or like, I don't know what would happen to her in real life. But yeah, I think her sense of style and her sort of self-possession about knowing exactly what her interests are is
Yes.
really impressive because I remember being that age and thinking like I don't really know what my passion is per se, but being jealous of people who are like, I know exactly what I want to do with the rest of my life. It's this. Like my brother, for like from nowhere, no one in our family has ever been interested in flying from roughly this age of like the babysitter club period was like, I'm in love with flying. I will become a pilot. That's what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And that's exactly what he did. And I've never been that person. So I think maybe that's part of the appeal.
Yeah, I think there's something, and maybe it's just like it strikes a chord in me of like, because you feel like a different piece of each one like resonates with you. Like her kind of all over the placeness stresses me out.
Yeah.
And her sort of like leadership of like her like outrage at the tie-dye just like made me crazy in the camp. Like I didn't like that,
Why?
because she was perfectly fine going to a posh art camp at Yale that probably would have cost like $5,000, and then they try to charge for a supplemental activity and she's like
Not
Elizabeth
on my
Gurley
watch.
Flynn. Like that
Yeah.
didn't work for me as a plot point.
I
Like,
think it was authentic of Dawn. Like I believe that
yes,
Dawn would be that
yes.
outraged and would carry that through like all of her choices in life across her life where maybe Claudia, but it's like we all find things in our own time. So I feel like
Yeah.
Claudia's like on a different place with her, you know, wokeness, so to speak.
I do feel like the piece of like their story of being friends as a group that I loved the most is when they're having a fight at the camp. And sorry, if you didn't watch, like, I know none of this makes any sense, but in the finale, they all go to camp together, and Mary Ann is off in one corner, like mounting a show and like dreaming about kissing her crush. And then on the other side, there's like this growing like protest against like pay to play arts and crafts. And when they have the fight, because Dawn is interrupting the play, and she says like, just because it's not important to you doesn't mean it's not important to me. I was like, I was like 25 before I could have articulated that. Like I didn't have that much awareness.
They have so much emotional awareness and such active listening skills and empathy. And it is sort of shocking to me how, you know, like mature they are in a way that I am not or am still learning to be. And, you know, even the way that they responded to Stacy's illness, I thought was really beautiful, both in the book and in the adaptation. And I think that to me was like the biggest change of me reading these books as a kid versus experiencing this as an adult, which is like when I read these books, I was in perfect health. So I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't relate to Stacy at all. And now reading these books now, and maybe, you know, like I've been dealing with chronic illness since I was 12. So I've literally lived some of what Stacy has gone through where like your friends don't know how to handle a change in your life that they are uncomfortable asking you about. So they either just like kind of drop you or it's really awkward or uncomfortable and you're not really sure what how to navigate that. Like that really resonated with me and I actually think it was handled very well. But and I thought that the girls responding to it was really really sweet and emotional like that. I did cry on that episode. That was really sweet.
I think what was great too is like they really updated it for like 21st century culture. Like
Mm-hmm.
Stacy has an episode and it's filmed and it goes viral, and like people shame her for something she can't control. And then I was going back through my boxes that I have these books in. Like diabetes had such a moment when we were kids. Like,
Yes.
our own Susan Adler, who wrote the first Samantha book, wrote a book called You Can't Catch Diabetes from a friend. Like,
Oh my God.
I read like several books as a child where it was like very in depth on diabetes, and I was like, I need to know about this. Like, I need to be like, like I need to like be
Right.
aware. But what I loved in the update was like them making it about something going viral, and the way that they seamlessly made her pump a part of the plot.
Yeah.
And I really do think like, who knows, like among kids watching, like who, or even adults, frankly, like who needed to see that like the pump is not something to be hidden, like it's something to be proud of, that it works and that you can
Yes.
have this command of your body. I also cried because I thought that was just such a great scene, and the way that her father showed up for her and said like, oh, it looks amazing, and like you'll need to bling out my phone as well, was like, that is like, who knows who needed to see that.
Yeah,
That was
I know.
beautiful.
I thought that was really powerful, really well done. And yeah, that was an emotional episode. I just feel like so much of this was handled with such care in the adaptation that there was no moments really when I thought like, this is strange. I think the only parts that made me uncomfortable were kind of a through line of the books and the adaptation is when the girls accept as a solution or as like a net positive taking on things that are like not for them or like not age appropriate, like the emotional well-being of their parents. Or in the end of the adaptation, there's this whole protest and they consider it a win that basically they're given like a token job title that displaces some of the labor from the paid camp counselor and the camp director to them as junior camp counselors, which I
But
found was like a weird win. I don't know.
is that not like being a millennial woman in a like nutshell? Like, you have raised a problem. We are not actually going to change that problem, but we will displace some of the problem solving labor onto you. Like, is that not
Yes.
accurate?
Yep. Like there's a structural problem and instead they reframe it as like, good news, we're going to give you the opportunity to solve your own problem.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a
and
nightmare.
the way that they then like incorporate other women, like younger women and a black woman in the case of Jessie, where they're like, you too will be part of solving these
Yeah, I
structural
was like,
problems.
oh, come on, guys. I mean, it is like of the times for that to be the solution, but
Okay, we
tough.
have not talked about, and I said this before we started our Netflix party. I said I loved the Little Sister books. Karen was
Yes.
an OG fave for me, and you and your very nice work friends were like, "What? Who's Karen? Like, where's Karen?"
Yep.
Karen is the hero that we didn't deserve of this series.
She truly is. And there's a moment in the books that made me think of you as Karen, which is that um when Kirsty babysits them and basically meets her future half siblings for the first time, Karen is convinced the next door neighbor is a witch and
Yep.
she's casting about for proof of this, and she basically says to Kirsty, the proof is that when she moved in my cat got fat. And she's like, she's basically like, that's the evidence, like she bewitched my cat and made him fat, that's the proof. And Christy's like not really sure how that works. And it obviously made me think of you. And again, I don't want to fat shame my god
Raymond.
cat, but Raymond, has needed medical attention for certain issues caused by, certain like feeding schedules that are, some would call chaotic or non-traditional.
So the first book that is a Little Sister book, which I 1,000% read, is called Karen's Witch.
Yep.
Like, hi, how much am I Karen? Karen's Witch, Karen's Worst Day, me half the days lately, Karen's Kitty Cat Club, Karen's Birthday, Karen's Haircut,
Yeah. I
Karen's
mean,
Ghost. Like,
it tells a story. It writes itself, basically. When I loved in the adaptation when we meet Karen, she's like hosting a wake for one of her dolls.
yes.
She's like, she's dead. And Kirsty kind of doesn't know what to make of it. And it's like, yeah, I like your energy, Karen.
Okay, there are like 100 of these books.
I don't know how they got turned out at such rates, but it's really impossible to fathom. I do think that you are a mix of Marianne and Christy. That's what I would say. I mean,
Sorry,
Karen.
Number 89, Karen's unicorn. Karen wonders if unicorns actually exist! Exclamation point. By that point, Karen's pilgrim. Karen goes to Plymouth Plantation.
What?
Like,
can we read that one? I want to read that.
I will. They were like, nothing will stop us when it comes to Karen. There is like, the limit does not exist. We will never stop.
They're like, Karen can just go on any possible adventure that we need her to go on. That is wild to me.
Sorry. You asked me a question. I apologize.
I don't even remember what it was. I think I was razzing you about how you feed Ray possibly too much.
Too much. Yeah. True.
He gets fed in the middle of the night.
Listen, I like my sleep. So if I feed him and he calms down and it lets me go to sleep, like, this is why I don't have children. Like, yes, I just feed him.
You're like, anyway, you're like, it's not my problem. Here you go, Ray.
Just like, saying. How many episodes of this will I watch? 200?
Yep. The limit does not exist. Like, I want to see season 2. My plea to the creators of this adaptation is, please, let me just read a quotation real quick from the end of this book that I think should signal what should happen in season 2 or what should not happen in season 2. Okay. At the sleepover, the culminating sleepover of book 1, they're all chatting and basically Stacy has a crush on Christy's brother. And they're all kind of like vibing on that. And then one of them says, no, really, do you like any boys, Christy? And then quote, Christy says, this narrator, I made a face. I'm just saying, I do not want to have anyone introduced as a boy crush for Christy because that will crush my spirit.
The movie did that, though, very much.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there was a horribly unconvincing plotline of her crush that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
I will say, I feel like this series will do better, number 1, and number 2, I think one of the keys is like, and we talked about this during like one of our early watches together, I don't know how this series succeeded at never overdoing it, like, which is really hard. Like, it was very subtle. The scene where Mary Ann is babysitting for a child and we learn that the mother has always asked for Mary Ann and she's acquiescing and Mary Ann is seeing her sensitivity as a bad thing. And then we learn that probably why Mary Ann has been chosen to babysit this child over and over is the child has chosen to adopt female pronouns and Mary Ann doesn't question, doesn't make a big deal. Mary Ann is just a great caregiver. And when she has to bring the child to the ER and she's misgendered by the doctor, Mary Ann sticks up for her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that was so subtle and like they didn't overdo it. And the dad is so proud and like just like happy that she was able to advocate. And I don't know that like a book would have done that as well because like her acting just really carried it and it was so well done.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I feel like this series was made for women our age because of like the dress and like many other signals that I feel like were winks to us, but I feel like young listeners, it was just so affirming.
Yeah, I agree. Like there's a lot of Easter eggs in the series that are like, you know, Claudia wears the iconic Clueless outfit in a lunchroom scene in the adaptation. So obviously if you're an Alicia Silverstone or Clueless stan, as I definitely am, you know, like that's kind of for you that might have been lost on younger viewers. And I also think, you know, thinking about generationally, if you're a parent, how beautiful is that scene for you? Mm-hmm. Not to hit you over the head with what to do if, you know, like in terms of letting a child choose their own gender or demonstrate or like being just an active listener as a parent when your child is, you know, verbalizing or embodying a different gender than perhaps they were assigned at birth, like how to deal with that in a way that's not a crisis, but just really quiet compassion. And how Mary Ann models that too. That was an incredibly moving scene. And, you know, I just found that really remarkable in terms of just like normalizing something that is still not treated as normal in our world. And in fact is often met with violence. In some cases, like I just found that a really beautiful scene and hoping that also for like young kids watching it too, to just present that as like, oh, this is like totally normal and fine. You know, I think that's the power of an adaptation too.
Because she's so accepting and perceptive when she goes to get a change of clothes and sees that the closet is filled with like traditionally boy clothes. and that the child she's babysat this whole time dresses as a princess, and that's what they do together. And then discovers like basically a second wardrobe that is all dresses and like princess outfits. It's like beautiful cinematography in like a split second where she gets it. And it's like, it's not overdone, it's not drawn out. It was just like perfect. Like I don't think you could have done it any better. Like this light bulb goes off and she says, oh, okay. And then I think what was smart about it is then you realize like that's why they always want Mary Ann. There's nothing to explain with Mary Ann because she's perceptive and she gets it.
Yeah, I think that's true. And it actually made me think about, like, I was trying to think about the first movie or something I saw where there was a queer woman who identifies as such and it's not treated as a joke or a punchline or something else. And I know there's been some pushback on Tina Fey, but I remember she made a joke on Update that I found to be really gross about queer women. As someone who's not queer herself, especially. And then not long after that on TV, I just happened to start watching this movie that had Matthew Good in it, which is probably why I kept it on. It was called Imagine Me and You, and it's like not amazing, but it's about a love story of two women anyway, one who's married to him at the beginning of the movie. But one of the women just says at one point, like, I'm gay. And the other person in the scene just says, like, oh, okay. And it was the first time in my entire life, lived experience or things in pop culture, that I'd ever seen somebody identify as gay and not have a really weird response. And also, like, and keep in mind, like, I grew up with a brother who came out when I was in high school. Whenever he would self-identify as gay, people did not know how to react to it, and just, like, with any chill. So just, like, it made me so happy to see this scene, because it's, like, representation really does matter. It seems like such an obvious thing to say, but just in small and big ways, like, I really hope that there's more, that this is inspiring to other people making things that go on Netflix or other places where people will find them.
There was also no, on the other end, like overwrought scene of Marianne being like, of course it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? Or like,
oh my God, I hate, yes. Okay, first of all, I hate when people are like, I don't care if you're blue. Not to, like, again, ding Garth Brooks, but he did this in that documentary. He was like, I don't care if you're black or you're white or you're blue. And it's like, Garth, pause. Where do the blue people live? But it's like, you're absolutely right that in most of those scenes where you have representation of anything, there's always a scene that, like, valorizes the straight person for, like, being so brave. And it's like, can we not with that for like 5 seconds? And I'm really glad that they didn't fall into that trap.
No. And I think Mary Ann is going to be like, I hope she'll be a good friend when Chrissy is the first woman in Stoneybrook to bring a woman to prom. I think that's season 3.
For Chrissy. Please, like, can we please make that happen on this show? Like, public gavel call. And also, can Grandma Mimi be crowned prom queen, like, immediately?
I love Mimi so much.
I love Mimi so much. And I love Janine so much. Like, I feel like Janine should just get the keys to whatever she wants, because she could probably save the world.
I think that's where, like, the character of Christy's mom and Watson Brewer, it's like they're fine, they're just boring. And I kind of like that even on their wedding day, it's like their relationship is not interesting, because it's not.
Yes, it's not interesting at
like,
all.
There's nothing interesting. Like, he has money. I will also say something that, like, stood out to me when Christy is supposed to be babysitting and the children, like, mess up Watson's car. And then Watson as a stepdad is like, great, now we have a secret together. I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, adults don't have secrets with teenage girls.
Nope. And actually, as a moment that's the absolute opposite of that in terms of, like, publicly being overly transparent, I love at their wedding that the best part of their wedding is when the neighbor is like, this girl, like Karen, like, thinks I'm a witch. And she's like, she's absolutely right, I am a witch. And I was like, this is amazing.
Yes.
Like, I love that she's like, I'm not going to keep a secret from this child or, like, anybody. I will say on this microphone that I am a witch, and, like, you will deal with it. Whereas Watson's like, he, we have a secret that makes us friends. And I'm like, not okay, Watson. No.
No, I don't know why that persists. I was reading a children's book and it was like, and she kept this a secret from her parents. And I was like, nope, I don't go for that. Honestly, from here, it's like, I don't want to say our Patreon has peaked. It's like, I literally have no idea what to do next after this.
I really don't. Please, somebody write to us with your thoughts and ideas. And we did ask those who joined us for the watch along what they would like their next one to be. And we had some really great suggestions ranging from Now and Then to Clueless. Speaking of Alicia Silverstone, which is now on Netflix. So if any of those strike you, if that's of interest, please get in touch with us. We really do genuinely love doing these episodes, but I agree with you. I don't know where we're going to go next.
Something that like truly has nothing to do with anything except that it's a product by a Karen.
Okay.
Did you ever read a book called The Midwife's Apprentice by Karen Cushman?
What? I don't think I did.
I'm going to send you a photo of the cover. I pulled this book out. She also wrote Catherine Called Birdie. No?
That rings a bell. I don't know. My memory of this stuff is so not great.
I pulled this book out. I kid you not. I was like, oh my God. This is why I thought I could be a medieval apothecary. Like the things that come back to you doing this show. I am down to do a, I am truly so down to do a Dear America at any time.
Yeah.
So if people feel like strongly about it, I pulled this book out and I was like so back like 20 years in my life where I was like, this is why I thought. I was like, I could make the elixirs. Hold on.
I believe
I'm going to show you this image and like see if it resonates with you.
Okay. I'm waiting. Oh my God.
Like this book reached me for real.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Like folks, like give us feedback. Like it's August. It's hot. Like tell us what you
help us out. We need some assistance. Wow, this is taking me back. Oh my God.
Like when I say this, like pulling this out of the box, like shook me to my core. I was like, that's why you thought
this is sending me. I need my book up. See, all my books are like somewhere at my parents' house and I need to get possession of those because I'll go on a similar spiral. My only comparable thing to this is when reading The Witch of Blackbird Pond, like also a Connecticut shout out. No big deal. Like, yeah, we do have two great books set in Connecticut. I was like, being a witch sounds really cool. Like basically she almost gets like executed. I'm like, I don't know, sign me up. That sounds really neat.
Mary, as you are well aware, like I've always been like sort of like sure of where I would have fallen in the Salem witch trial spectrum. Like
you would have burned me alive.
No, I wouldn't have done the act. I would have implicated you strongly. Like, I have never been more convinced.
You would have been like, listen, we've said this from the beginning. You would have been like, listen, Mary's my best friend. I love Mary. I saw Mary flying over my house on a broom and also like colluding in the woods with like Goody, whoever. She's a witch.
I would depose against you. I wouldn't be proud of it, but I would do it because it's what the community needs.
And also, like, you would have done what the Salem people didn't do, which is, like, keep excellent records. You would have been like, I'm writing my own transcript as I testify.
Yeah, I would have. Damn. I know that that's a great October. August and September are, like, wild open. Like, I'm open to what people want to do. Like, I would also, if we just wanted to read a cool book about friendship, I'm into that as well. But these books, they take you back.
They're really wild. Yeah. And also somebody told us that some of the old Dear America TV series is on YouTube. So we can always get into that as well. So do some investigating, write to us. We're listening and we can't wait to see where this goes next, truly. And I can't wait for October, which is apparently going to be like traumatizing for me to have to deal with the degree to which Allison would have betrayed me in the past.
So I wouldn't call it a betrayal. I would just say like,
how is that not a betrayal?
So, I mean, like there's, you know, like loyalty to like self and loyalty.
This is such Marianne behavior.
I know.
This is such Marianne behavior. Oh my God.
And this is Christy behavior.
That's true. That is. I'm not wearing my baseball cap for this, but I should have. I feel like I've let myself down. But, you know, thank you, Christy, queer hero, and Martin, queer hero, all of our listeners, all of our patrons. We do so appreciate you. And we can't wait to see where you take us next, I guess.
Yes, truly. And we do love all of your feedback. And we're always listening. So thank you.